Welcome to another episode of Mike's Money Picks. Today on the podcast, after these two games, we will have a Final Four. That's right. We are talking about the Sunday Elite Eight slate, Sunday, March 30th, 2025. We are talking about the last two games of the Elite Eight of the NCAA Tournament. We're going to break down both games. We're going to tell you what you can expect from each game, so that way you will know who to put in or out of your DFS lineups on DraftKings and FanDuel, as well as what angles to take for player props and betting for these two games. Now, I got to say, y'all, these games this weekend have absolutely delivered. I'm recording this at the halftime of the Alabama-Duke game on Saturday after just watching just an incredible Florida-Texas Tech game. And I got to say, just the basketball games this weekend, they've been so high quality, so high energy, just good college basketball games. Everything that college basketball should be about has been embodied in this weekend. And I know that a lot of people have complained because there's no Cinderellas, there's no mid-majors, but what we're getting is just great basketball. And if we continue to get great basketball, that's only going to help the sport of college basketball as a whole, which makes me happy to see, because I want to see this sport continue to grow. I think the American public should be embracing this sport more than they do because of just how good it can be as a television product, how gripping it can be as a drama with everything that goes on and off the court. And so at the end of the day, this NCAA tournament, this big dance, Cinderella may have not showed up to this dance, but the DJ still played bangers. And I hope that these two games tomorrow are going to be two more bangers, two more classic college basketball games that can create another great television viewing experience. So if you have not already, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That way you can be with us for the rest of the college basketball season, all the way through the NCAA tournament, as well as if DraftKings does any more slates for the NIT or for the college basketball crown, we'll be here for that as well. And then as we transition into spring, summer, and fall, we morph into a golf show, and then a best ball show, and then a college football show, and then back into a college basketball show. So make sure you're subscribed so you can be here with us for all of that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and break down both these. All right, so the first game of Sunday afternoon is the Tennessee-Houston game taking place in Indianapolis. And, I will die on this hill. Football or basketball games should be played in basketball arenas, not football stadiums. I don't think it's a coincidence that you didn't see great offense in both of those two games in Indianapolis, because they were playing in a dome instead of a basketball arena. And I think that's going to continue here in this one. KenPom has this game between Houston and Tennessee as being 63-61 in favor of Houston. That is a total of 124 points. That's quite low. This is not the game that you're going to want to be stacking. In fact, honestly, I think looking at this slate as a whole, I do not expect this breakdown to take as long as yesterday's, because I think this is a much simpler breakdown for these two games. These two teams are literally like the Spider-Man meme, where it's the two Spider-Mans looking at each other. It's literally that. These two teams are so similar. They play so similarly that this is just going to be a clash of common styles, and it's going to come down to who plays that style better, right? So when you look at both these teams, both of them rank between 12th and 17th in offensive efficiency nationally. Houston 12, Tennessee 17. Both of them are in the top 3 in defensive efficiency nationally. Houston's 1, Tennessee's 3. Both of them are outside the top 340 in tempo nationally. Tennessee ranks 340th. Houston ranks 360th. And oh, by the way, neither of them are particularly tall. Tennessee ranks 190th in height. Houston ranks 242nd. In terms of rebounding, both of them are really good offensive rebounding teams, both in the top 20 of offensive rebounding, both outside the top 100 in defensive rebounding. So this should be a game where we see a ton of offensive rebounds based off of that stat. And honestly, both of these defenses statistically force opponents to shoot a lot of threes. Opponents playing these two teams have a very high three-point rate. And so what's going to be interesting is, can these two teams, are they going to continue to force each other to shoot threes? Is that going to be the strategy? I don't know. But at the end of the day, you have two really old, really physical teams that are just going to play super tough defense, and it's going to come down to who can put the ball in the bucket the most times. Nothing is going to come easy in this game. This game should look more like if you ever played pickup basketball at a court where just nobody calls fouls, and it's just guys just going at it every possession. That's going to be probably what this looks like, honestly. So let's go ahead and talk about the Tennessee side for DFS purposes. So Tennessee, what they've been doing lately, they have really been playing through Ziegler and Lanier a ton in this NCAA tournament. And it shows up in the stats, right? Ziegler's had over 32 DraftKings points in his last 3 NCAA tournament games. He has 32 DraftKings points or more in 6 straight games. He's just been a super consistent option. They've really been playing through him. His assist rate is through the roof. And to me, that kind of is like a good thing and a bad thing, because the good thing is he doesn't need to score a lot of points to score you a lot of DraftKings points. But the bad news is that in a game environment like this, his team's going to have to score a lot of points in order for him to score a lot of DraftKings points. But you look at some of the games, they haven't exactly played the highest of scoring games, right? In the Auburn game, in the SEC tournament, 135 points scored. He had 34 DraftKings points. UCLA game earlier this NCAA tournament, 125 points scored, and he had 32 DraftKings points. So he can still get you 30 plus DraftKings points in a tough game environment like this one. What's going to be interesting for me to see is like in the Houston-Purdue game, Houston loves to like blitz and pressure and trap off ball screens. And Braden Smith was just surgical in where he was going with the ball, the angles he was taking, the places he was dribbling to. Like he was just surgical in attacking that defense, and he was great. Can Zakai Ziegler be that? I think kind of yes. Like Ziegler is not the same tall, bigger guard that Braden Smith is, but Ziegler is still super smart, super crafty with the basketball. So I don't think he's the worst play on the slate at $8,700. He's going to make my player pool. I think if you're playing cash, he makes a lot of sense, but it's hard for me to go fully endorse a guy like this who is kind of dependent on peripheral stats in a game environment that's only projected to see 124 points scored. Now, the other half of this Tennessee offense lately has been Chaz Lanier. Now, Lanier is kind of the opposite profile of Ziegler. Lanier is super dependent on his own scoring in order to score a lot of DraftKings points. Like that literally bears itself out when you look at his game log. Like I'm not going to read his game log for you, but his point total kind of directly mirrors his DraftKings point total. And here's the thing with this game. Houston's defense is designed to pack the paint and force opponents to shoot threes. If Chaz Lanier is shooting a lot of threes and he makes a lot of them, he's going to have a really good game. That's not rocket science. If he's shooting a lot of them and he misses a lot of them, he's not going to have a good game. Like I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Lanier's DraftKings performance or fantasy point performance, whatever you want to call it, is going to come down to whether or not he's making his threes. And so if you want to gamble that he's going to make them, roll the dice on him. I don't think there's any kind of security in playing him, but I do think that it's a quite straightforward breakdown with Chaz Lanier. Now, the rest of the starting five for Tennessee has been Jemai Meshack, their defensive stopper. I would expect him to play a ton in this game if he can stay out of foul trouble. And I think at $4,800, I think he's a very solid high floor value play on this slate. And then Felix Okpara starts at the center position. He's another guy that will play a ton of minutes if he can stay out of foul trouble. He's a really good offensive rebounder, which should bode well on this slate. And then Igor Milicic, who's down at $4,900. Now, Milicic is kind of the second big for this Tennessee team, but I think he could be crucial in this game if he can show up and stay out of foul trouble and play well. You look at what he's done recently. He has not been good recently. Like it's not like a bit of a revelation there. Like I hate to come on a podcast and like bash a guy, but I think objectively speaking, I think he would admit this, he has not been playing well recently, right? And if he were to show up and play well, that would be a huge X factor for this Tennessee team because he is a good rebounder. He is a switchable defender. He can stretch the floor from the three-point line. Like he can do a lot of things that can fill up a stat sheet. He can do a lot of things that make an impact on a basketball game if he's out there on the floor and playing well. The question is he going to do that? I think that makes him, and like maybe I'm the crazy one here because I keep playing him in DraftKings. And Friday night was just like the ultimate like stepping on a rake and having it hit you in the face playing him. Like I should have seen that coming a mile away. But I think that I'm going to keep going back to him because they're at their best when he's playing well. And he can do a lot of things that can get you a lot of fantasy points when he's playing well. He just needs to get back and play well. And if he's not playing well, I think it's quite likely they're going to lose this game. Because what they've been doing with Milicic not playing all that well is they've been playing a ton more minutes for Jordan Gainey off the bench. And y'all, you can't play small against this Houston team. You can't play four guards against this Houston team. They're going to bury you on the glass and down low if you try to play four guards against them. So I don't think you're going to see the same minute total out of Gainey. I think Gainey's upside in this game would be if we get a Ziegler or Lanier foul trouble game. But I just have a really tough time, advocating to play Gainey here in this one with me thinking that his minutes are going to be reduced and his salary on DraftKings is just absurd for what he does. Now, the other guy that would be in play for this Tennessee team will be Cade Phillips. He's been playing more and more minutes because Igor Milicic has not been good. I think $3,600, he's a very viable punt play on this slate because if you do get Milicic foul trouble or Para foul trouble for that matter, or you get just a bad game out of either of those two, it's quite likely he's going to play north of 15 minutes and he can get you some DraftKings points. He's a pretty solid fantasy point per minute player. Earlier in the NCAA tournament, he played 22 minutes against UCLA, put up 17 DraftKings points. He can do that every now and then. So I think that he's a solid punt play there at $3,600. $6,600. All right, now on the Houston side. So here is the most interesting variable of the game to me, right? So Houston is a team that is generally averse to shooting threes. They do not shoot a lot, right? Their offense is more designed to play through the post with Juwan Robertson, with Joseph Tugler, and it leads to like some inefficient offense. Because let's be honest, a post-up shot is not an efficient shot in basketball in the day of modern analytics. What it does, though, is it means that when they do take three-pointers, they're pretty good at it. They rank first in the nation in three-point percentage at almost 40. They're 281st in two-point percentage, and they're 295th three-point rate. Like, they just don't take a lot of them. Because oftentimes when they're not posting up, they're getting these really tough off-the-dribble, mid-range contested jump shots from the likes of Cryer and Sharp and Uzan, and that's not an efficient shot either. So the question is how is Houston going to end up shooting the ball? Well, Tennessee is traditionally a team that is going to pack the paint, shut down the low post, not let you get to the rim, protect the rim at all costs, and make you shoot jump shots. It's actually what Houston doesn't want to do, but it's actually their strength. It's a weird paradox. But yet against Kentucky, Tennessee did the exact opposite. Tennessee went into that game and said, hey, the way that you can beat us, the only way you can beat us is what you did last time against us, which is shoot 50% from three. And so we're just going to run you off the three-point line. We're going to stay attached to shooters. And if you want to beat us with Amari Williams post-ups, you can be our guest. That was their defensive strategy, was to run him off the line, not give him any good looks, particularly Kobe Bryant. They were like blanketed on him all game long. And so the question is, will Tennessee go back to that strategy or not? We don't know what Tennessee's defensive strategy is going to be, but what their strategy ends up being is going to greatly impact what Houston players are going to play well or not play well. And I think if you're smart, you can construct your DraftKings lineups around that. Here's what I mean. Milos Uzan is really the creator for this Houston offense now. He was great in that game against Purdue, had the game winner off the inbounds pass. He plays pretty much the entire game. He has a super high assist rate. He can get you some boards as well. He's a little bit overpriced, in my opinion, at $7,700, but he does have 2 games in his last 5 over 35 DraftKings points. He is going to have the size advantage over Tennessee's guards. I think that this could be just a pretty interesting type play. Like I'm kind of in on playing Uzan at 7,700, even though, like I said, I do think that that's a hair too expensive for my taste. Now, LJ Cryer is the guy that the game plan will really have a big impact on. So Purdue really defended Cryer well. He was 2 for 13 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3. Really off shooting night for Cryer. Here's the good news. If you want to go back to him in DFS formats, though, he still put up 20 DraftKings points on an off night. When he's on, you get what he did against Gonzaga, where he put up 41 DraftKings points. So if Tennessee rolls with the strategy of, we're going to make this team shoot jump shots, who's going to be the one that's most likely to shoot him? It's LJ Cryer, right? Now, the other guy that can shoot jump shots for them, a much less efficient shooter, I think less effective shooter, is Emmanuel Sharp. He's down here at $5,800. He was 2 for 8 from 3 against Purdue, put up 23 DraftKings points. I generally don't like the idea of playing Cryer and Sharp together. Like, when you look at what they've done recently, it is highly unlikely that both of them go off in the same game. For instance, Cryer's biggest game against Gonzaga, Sharp did not do well at all. Sharp's biggest game against BYU, Cryer put up 26 DraftKings points, which is okay. So I just don't like the idea of playing them together. But if you're looking to invest in the Houston shooters, that's the two that they're going to be the ones shooting the ball. If Tennessee goes with the strategy they had against Kentucky, then it's going to be a ton of Juwan Roberts post-ups. And I like the idea of playing Juwan Roberts here on this slate. He's had that kind of lingering injury throughout the first part of the NCAA tournament and the Big 12 tournament. Not anymore. He's played 32 and 37 minutes in the last 2 games. Against Purdue, he only took 5 shots, but still put up 24 DraftKings points. I think it's quite likely that I think Roberts might have the matchup in this game. If they choose to have Igor Milicic guard Roberts is going to be able to back him down and draw fouls and kind of do well. But I will say the one thing about Houston, though, their bigs, Roberts and Tugler, do draw fouls, largely because they're not good foul shooters, which should actually kind of play into the hands of Okpara and Milicic being able to stay on the floor because those bigs do not draw fouls. Now, Tugler is the other big for Houston. He's an elite defender. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. If he stays out of foul trouble, he can give you a really good performance because he's a great rebounder, great defender. And if he gets in foul trouble, he's going to be a dud. I don't know why this team doesn't play him more minutes. In the last 4 games, he hasn't played more than 20 minutes. He might be asked to play more minutes than that here in this one. The other big that they play is Javier Francis. He will play in relief of Tugler and Roberts. He's kind of like the backup to both of them. They really only play 3 bigs. And I'd rather go somewhere else with my DraftKings salary. He's not a very highly used offensive player when he's out there, and Tugler and Roberts don't get in foul trouble a whole lot, and I don't see them needing to get in foul trouble against Tennessee when they're going to be guarding Milicic and Okpara, who are not exactly foul drawers themselves. Now, Malik Wilson is questionable for this game. when you look at the news, he got hurt in the game against Purdue. I don't remember it. I watched that entire game. I don't remember him getting hurt and leaving, but he only played 12 minutes, which was below his normal total. But all that led to was they just played the starting guards more minutes. You didn't really see a boost for Arsenault or anybody like that. Arsenault's their other backup guard, but I can't advise playing him on this slate unless Wilson gets ruled out. If Wilson gets ruled out, I think Arsenault's a really good play at $3,300 because he's going to have to play 20 plus minutes, but I just don't see it otherwise. All right, that is game number 1. Let's take a quick breather, and then we're going to move to game number 2. However, if you are looking for more information from me, there are places where you can get it. First off, you can follow me on Twitter at Mike's Money Picks. I'm more than happy to answer any questions if you reach out to me, as well as it's where I tweet out all updates for the show just to kind of keep everybody updated with what's going on. So follow me on Twitter if you are interested in that. I'm also in the Fantasy Corner Discord. The link is in the description on the YouTube video as well as on the audio feed. The Fantasy Corner Discord is a community that is 100% free. It's not one of them premium Discords, which is not to say that the premium Discord is a bad thing, but this is not one of them. It's open to the public, and it's a place where a bunch of really good, really smart people play DFS for a lot of different sports, and college basketball has been one of the most active chats in there, but I'm talking, we've got NBA, MLB, NFL, college football, golf. There's a tennis one now. There's a UFL one now. So like whatever sport you're playing, we got you covered in the Fantasy Corner Discord, and it's just a blast to be a part of, talking lineups, talking strategies all day long with a bunch of really sharp players, and then sweating it out together and talking about the games. It's just a blast. It's a great community to be part of. Now, if you want to know who actually makes my DFS lineups, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Mike's Money Picks. Every single college basketball DFS slate, I post my core plays as well as why they are my core plays. So you can get a full write-up as to why I'm playing who I'm playing. If you're interested in that, that is where you would go. I cannot promise that you can just plug in those plays and win thousands of dollars. It's not that easy, but I can promise that you can get well-researched, well-thought-out takes from somebody who knows what they're talking about. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about game number 2, Michigan State taking on Auburn in the South Regional. Y'all, here's one variable I would not discount with this game. This is basically an Auburn home game. Like this, Auburn is 90 minutes from Atlanta. This is all the Auburn fans are going to be coming out for this one. This is going to be an Auburn home game. And I don't think that that's factored into the betting line. I don't think that's factored into the KenPom line. And I think it's relevant to know. KenPom has this game projected to be 76-71 in favor of Auburn. That's a total of 147 points. That is 23 more points than game 1. And both of these teams are projected to score more points than both teams in game 1. If you're playing DFS on DraftKings and FanDuel, you're probably going to want to stack this game. Just saying. Like this is, I fail to see a scenario where the first game has a significantly higher amount of DraftKings points scored than the second game. Like at worst, it's going to be even. At best, this one could be like a 6-2 nominee or 7-1. I normally never go 7-1, but 6-2 nominee, right? So here's the reason why. Both these teams are really good offensively. Auburn ranks 3rd offensive efficiency. Michigan State ranks 23rd. Now, they're not bad defenses. Michigan State ranks 4th. Auburn ranks 8th. Tempo, they're both much quicker than the previous two teams. Michigan State's 179th, and Auburn is 134th. Now, here's the interesting thing. Michigan State is a team that is not a good three-point shooting team. They rank 318th in three-point percentage offensively and 329th in three-point rate. So they're a team that knows they're not good shooting, so they don't shoot a whole lot, right? That's smart offense. Now, here's the problem with that. Auburn's a team that very much is going to pack the paint, very much is athletic enough and understanding of that game plan that they're not going to let Michigan State get to the rim. They're going to force Michigan State to shoot some jump shots in this game. So that begs the question of, where are they going to get those jump shots from? Now, another good news with Michigan State, though, is statistically, Michigan State, even though they're not as big as Auburn, statistically, they're a much better rebounding team. Michigan State ranks 28th in the nation in offensive rebounding rate and 8th in defensive rebounding rate, whereas Auburn is 42nd and 159th, respectively. So Michigan State does have an advantage on the glass here in this one, even though they are the smaller team. But like I said, I fail to see how Michigan State can kind of just run their normal stuff and have a lot of success. They're either going to need somebody to catch fire that doesn't normally catch fire, or they are going to need to be able to get creative and find different ways to get their guys to the rim. Now, their best player in this NCAA tournament has been Jace Richardson. He's up here at $7,400 now. It's quite an expensive cost, but he's been very efficient. In the second half against Ole Miss, they kind of went out of their way to just prevent him from getting to the rim. They really overplayed him all the time, and he still managed to get 20 9.6 boards, 29 DraftKings points, right? I'm a big Jace Richardson guy, big believer in him. And if you're talking about somebody who could get hot from three, he was 4 for 6 against Ole Miss, and they could need that here in this game. I think he's their best all-around player. And if anybody on this Michigan State team were to break the slate, it'd be Jace, in my opinion. Jaden Akins is just kind of like everything I said about Jace Richardson, except he's smaller. He generally doesn't do as well in the peripheral stats, and he's generally not as good. Like, that's Jaden Akins. Now, like I said, though, if Auburn completely oversells this op, Jace Richardson, could Akins pop off and have a big game? Yeah, it's a possibility. I would just rather play Richardson than Akins, or I'd rather drop down to their other guard, Trey Holloman. Trey Holloman, I have been pretty big on this NCAA tournament, and he's been kind of hit or miss. Against Bryant, 24 DraftKings points, New Mexico 30, Mississippi 14, but he's a guy that they're really using to generate a lot of their offense. He is another shooter that could get hot theoretically, and he's generally a pretty good guy in terms of assist rate. And so I think that this is a guy that could be generating offense on the ball from the point guard position, much like what you saw with Sean Padula. Well, never mind. Let me rephrase. Sean Padula played Michigan State. So we're more on that in a second. I got ahead of myself there. Yeah, Trey Holloman, guy that could generate offense from the point guard position, which could give Auburn some trouble, right? Now, after that, here's where they got interesting. So Simone Zapala, who we opined on the Friday show, is a guy that very rarely plays. He generally starts and just comes to the bench and comes back out of halftime and starts and goes back to the bench. He did not start in the Friday night game against Ole Miss. Did not play at all in that game. What they did was they went with a smaller starting lineup where they moved Cohen Carr to the 4, and Cohen Carr was great in that game, 21 DraftKings points. And then they moved Jackson Kohler to the 5. More on him in a second. So Cohen Carr, if they're going to keep him at the 4, that's an interesting matchup because he is much smaller than Janai Broome. However, Cohen Carr, he's a pretty stoutly built guy. He's kind of jacked, and he's a really good athlete. He's really good at dunking the ball. And so if they're going to be like relying on Cohen Carr to guard Janai Broome, then he's probably going to play a ton of minutes. And in that game against Mississippi, he played 32 minutes. That's a ton, right? And obviously he's up in price now to $5,100, but you're telling me that I'm getting this guy who projects for probably 30 plus minutes in the better game environment on the slate and is going to be in a very high leverage position guarding the opposition's best player. To me, there's a very wide range of outcomes here with Cohen Carr, but one of those outcomes is him breaking the slate at $5,100. Now, Jackson Kohler really let me down Friday night. I was all over him because I thought the Ole Miss could really be had inside by a post-up big, and then he gets the ball in the second half on a post-up and just proceeds to throw it right to Sean Padula. Really big letdown. Only played 18 minutes in that game, only put up 7.5 DraftKings points. And this is a much worse matchup. Whether Kohler is going to be guarding Cardwell or Broome, I don't think that's going to end too well for him. He's just not been playing good basketball as of late. I don't think anybody is going to play him in DraftKings on this slate. So this is one of those situations where a bad play could become a good play when nobody plays him and he happens to go off. I just don't think that's a very likely situation with Kohler. Now, the other big that they played a lot in that Ole Miss game is Carson Cooper. Played 21 minutes against Mississippi, was pretty good in those 21 minutes, put up 18 DraftKings points. He is bigger than Kohler. I think he's playing more effectively than Kohler right now, and I think at $4,200, I think he's a really, really solid play on DraftKings, if I'm being honest. Now, I think the upside's a little bit limited. This is a guy that's probably not going to play big-time minutes. This is a guy that could get in foul trouble when he's out there against Auburn's bigs, but $4,200 for 15 DraftKings points on this slate, I'll take it, right? Now, the other guys that will play for Michigan State, Jeremy Fears is down here. I'd rather just play Holloman, if I'm being honest. I think Holloman's a better scorer. Holloman's kind of been outplaying him in terms of minutes recently. They've either been like close to even or in favor of Holloman. And then Frankie Filler is kind of like this stretch four that comes off the bench. He's pretty good offensively. Doesn't give a whole lot in the peripheral stats. Not super interested in playing him, even though $3,200, he's a viable punt play, in my opinion. I think if you're looking at all the punts on this slate, in terms of everybody below $4,000, I would probably rank it Cade Phillips 1. Actually, Arsenault, if Wilson is out, would be 1. Cade Phillips 2, Fiddler 3. That'd be how I would see it. All right, now let's talk about the Auburn side. So everything with Auburn's got to start with Janai Broome, right? And he was great in that game against Michigan, 22-16. He did foul it. He did have 5 turnovers, so he did drop to 47 DraftKings points, but that's still really good. And look, on this slate where it's a 2-game slate, this game environment is significantly better than the other one, I just don't see how you don't play a ton of Janai Broome, right? And Michigan State is not a team that is super elite at defending the interior. I just don't see how you don't play him, right? Like I'm a guy that I generally play a 20 max, or occasionally I'll do like 220 maxes and make it 40 lineups. He's going to be probably 80 to 90% for me. I never full lock anybody in college basketball because of the fact that foul trouble is such a thing in college basketball, and you never want your lineup to just be totally undone by somebody getting 3 first half fouls or something like that. So I never full lock anybody, but he's about as close to a full lock as it's going to get. You just put him in your lineup and you make the rest of it work because he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He's got a great matchup. He's got a great game environment. And I just fail to see a scenario where when the dust settles, he's not going to be in the optimal lineup. Now, after Broome, Tahad Pettiford has been kind of the breakout star of this NCAA tournament for Auburn. 3 straight games over 28 DraftKings points. More importantly, this is a guy that comes off the bench, and he's had 3 straight games of 28 minutes or more. That's the most telling thing to me, is like he's playing a ton. They know that he's one of their best players, a guy that can really generate offense. And oh, by the way, this was what I was alluding to earlier, where I kind of got my teams mixed up. Sean Padua of Ole Miss really cooked the Michigan State defense at times as a scoring and distributing point guard. Tahad Pettiford could be that. He's like a human lightning rod. I really think this is a pretty good spot for Pettiford. I am going to be rolling him out a lot. Now, here's the thing with Pettiford. Don't think that if you play Pettiford that you can't play Denver Jones, because Auburn has shown in the last 3 games that they're 2 point guards, Pettiford and Jones. They're not mutually exclusive. They're going to share the floor together. Jones has played at least 31 minutes in the last 3 games and 35 in the last 2. And oh, by the way, he's been pretty good from a DraftKings perspective as well. 22, 22, 29 DraftKings points in the last 3 games. He is a bigger guard who has a really high assist rate, can also, go down there and scrap and get some boards. But he's also been really good in this NCAA tournament. I think it's quite likely that one of Pettiford or Jones has a really, really good game, and I'm willing to play both of them in the same lineup and try to really capture that upside. Now, from there, Chad Baker-Mazara is the wild card. You just never know what you're going to get from him. And he's like 25 years old. And so, yeah, he should dominate, right? But you never really know what you're going to get from him. He does some really dumb stuff on the basketball court. He can also be really good. In the last 3 games, he's only played a maximum of 25 minutes, largely because Auburn's been playing those 2 point guards a whole lot more. On the Creighton game, he did get hurt near the start of the second half and had 22 DraftKings points coming out of halftime. That was a really good game for him. He was on pace for a lot, but he hasn't been great from DraftKings perspective recently. I would probably rather play Pettiford and Jones, but I think the rest of the field in DraftKings would agree with that assessment as well. So I think Baker-Mazara is going to be this super low owned, super high leverage GPP type of play where the range of outcomes is really wide. But if you're playing for first place, he's a guy that you're going to have to consider because he does have a ton of upside, and he is probably going to come in as very low ownership. Am I recommending playing him? No, but I just made you a case that if you're playing GPPs, if you're playing enough lineups, he should be in your player pool. Now, Miles Kelly is Auburn's designated shooter. Hasn't been great in the NCAA tournament, y'all. 1 or 2 for 12 in 3-point shots in his last 2 games. It's not great. Michigan State's also one of the best 3-point defenses in all the nation. So I don't think this is a particularly great spot for him, but he's another guy like Chad Baker-Mazara where the range of outcomes is so wide that if he does go nuclear from 3, he could give you a really good performance on DraftKings. All right, now let's stop talking about the Auburn guards because there are 2 forwards that we got to talk about. First is Dylan Cardwell. He is their starting center. He very rarely plays north of 25 minutes, but he also can put up DraftKings points in a hurry. Michigan game, 23 minutes. 18 DraftKings points. Creighton game, 21 minutes, 21 DraftKings points. He's not a high usage player offensively, so you're going to need to get the peripheral stats from him in order to get home. But you look at everybody that's available on DraftKings at his salary, he's a pretty appealing play, right? Given the game environment, given the matchup, that's a pretty solid spot for him, if I'm being honest. Now, Chaney Johnson is at 5,300. What they've been doing more and more is in the minutes that Cardwell is sitting, the 2 of them are kind of splitting minutes, but the 2 of them don't play the same position. In the minutes that Cardwell is sitting, they're playing Chaney Johnson as the 4 and Janai Broome as the 5, right? In Michigan State, if they're playing Cohen Carr at the 4, Chaney Johnson's a really good matchup for Cohen Carr, honestly. So I could see Chaney Johnson playing more minutes in this game. Oh, and then, by the way, the 5 minutes that Broome is out, Chaney Johnson will be the 4 and Cardwell will be the 5, right? So I think there's a pretty compelling case to be made for playing Chaney Johnson here. I think if you're playing cash games, if you're playing the Survivor, actually, I guess this would be the last game of the Survivor. So you probably wouldn't want to play him in that format because the last day of the Survivor is always a GPP. But I think he's a really solid play at $5,300, right? Like you can just pencil him in for 20 plus minutes. You can pencil him in for about 20 DraftKings points at his salary of $5,300. And like I said, I think he gets a little bit of a boost because of this being the better game environment and because of the fact that he makes a lot of sense to play with Cohen Carr on the other side. Now, I got to be honest, like this is a slate to me where it feels like I'm kind of attacking it in terms of like a total point slate where I'm not super concerned about the value. I really just want to get guys that I think are going to score a lot of points. Just try to like race to as many points as I can and then figure out the rest from there, right? So Janai Broome to me on a total point slate is like the cream of the crop, the king of the slate, right? Like he's at $10,200, but you can pretty much pencil him in for 45 plus DraftKings points, and that's going to get you a head start over everybody else who does not click him. He's going to give you an average salary remaining about $5,700, and that's plenty workable here on this slate. You can get another one of those Auburn guards. You can get one of those Tennessee bigs. You can get, there's just all kinds of guys you can go with to make the lineup work. But I think Broome is going to be a big part of my lineups tomorrow, and that's kind of going to be how I'm going to be attacking this slate. But all right, y'all, that is going to do it for the Sunday Elite 8 slate. If this video helped you out in any way, please help me out. Hit the like button on YouTube, rate and review if you're listening to the audio. It helps me out a ton when you guys do that. I cannot stress that enough. And also, this is a huge month for me with it being the NCAA tournament. I've seen the channel grow quite a bit. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're 45 away. So if you have not subscribed on YouTube, please help me out and do that so that we can hit our goal. And yeah, we're going to be back for the rest of the NCAA tournament, especially the Final Four slate. And, if they're going to be doing NIT or college basketball crown slates, we're going to be back for that as well, breaking it all down. So anyway, hopefully we gave you guys all the goods in order to build some winning DraftKings and FanDuel lineups, some winning parlays, and some winning player props here on this Sunday night slate. Well, I guess not Sunday night, Sunday afternoon. But anyway, yeah, let's hope for two good basketball games. Really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to the Final Four with Duke. Well, I guess Duke hasn't punched their ticket yet. As I'm recording this, they're up in the second half. With Florida in it already, with Duke about to be in it, like we're going to have some good basketball teams in the Final Four. We're going to have some good basketball, and I just can't wait to watch it. And I hope you guys feel the same way. And so let's just hope we get two good, high-quality basketball games here on this Sunday. I can live with the results if that ends up being the case, right? Now, if anybody is curious, I mentioned the Survivor plays on last night's episode, right? So I had 2 entries left. I had to pick 2 Elite 8 games for both of them. It did not matter the day, but I had to pick 2 games. And so basically, in Survivor, you want to set it up so that way, like, you kind of pick who's going to lose in the next round, right? So what I did was I kind of decided to middle it. I picked Auburn in both of them because I think Auburn is going to beat Michigan State. And then I picked Houston in one and Tennessee in the other. So that way, as long as Auburn wins, I'm going to be guaranteed to get one of them through to the final, and I'm going to have options to pick Florida and Duke in the next 2 rounds. And I'll just have to decide which one of those I want to pick in the Final Four and which one I want to pick in the national championship game, because at the start of my bracket, I did decide on Florida and Duke and as my national championship. And so I'm going to be rolling with that through as long as they stay alive. So yeah, kind of interesting strategy there. I didn't want to pick Florida or Duke, and it definitely had to be 2 teams on 2 sides of the bracket. So I think the Auburn and then split the other game strategy. I hope that's going to work, and I hope that remaining entry is going to work out for me. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. So go Tigers tomorrow, right? Because I need Auburn to win to keep that Survivor alive. But anyway, hopefully, gave all you guys everything you need this episode. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this point. Best of luck to you guys on the Sunday slate, and I will see you guys next time.